Mandela is calling, saying, Africans unite. If one man fires the soul of black South Africans in their vision of liberation and a non-racial unified South Africa, it is Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. This is New Location Deep Level, a dismal black township located outside Brandfort in the Orange Free State. For 50 years after its formation in 1912, the African National Congress operated as a non-violent movement, organizing passive resistance campaigns against unjust apartheid laws. In 1960, the ANC was banned by the South African government. With the Rivonia trial in 1964, the internal wing of the newly formed underground movement, Umkhonto we-Sizwe, the spear of the nation, was crushed, and the majority of the ANC leaders were sentenced to life imprisonment for planning to commit sabotage. For the past 7 years, this ghetto has been the home of South Africa's first lady in exile, Winnie Mandela, wife of Nelson, banished by the South African government out of sight and out of mind of society. At age 66, Nelson Mandela serves his 23rd year in the maximum security prison of Pollsmoor, outside Cape Town.
When I married him, he was already a prisoner, in fact. We met during his prison trial, and he had to get permission, in fact, to get married, because he was not only a prisoner, he was banned. And the trial was on in Pretoria at the time. So he was given 4 days in which to go to the Transkei and get married, which is where we got married, on the 14th of June 1958. Well, I have lived most of my life alone. The best years of my life really have been those spent under banning orders, and the past, of course, 7 years have been spent here in exile. Exile here means virtually really being in prison at your own expense. And it is the extreme isolation that is very, very difficult. And being away from friends and completely isolated intellectually, being in a place like this where you can hardly interact intellectually with the community, that one finds extremely difficult. And of course, worst of all was being without my children and not having the opportunity to play the role of a parent like all parents in democratic societies. Virtually both of us have really not had that opportunity to be parents to our children.
And the future. Do you believe you will see liberation in your lifetime?
Oh, certainly. That I'm completely convinced of. That is why even exile is so worthwhile, because I'm absolutely certain that we shall attain our liberation. And even being in exile really is a constant reminder of the sickness of our society, and that we are virtually in prison, even in our country. Those who are outside prison walls are simply in a bigger prison, because the black man is virtually a prisoner, and all those other fellow whites and other groups that are as oppressed as we are all really in prison, in a bigger apartheid prison.
December the 10th, 1982, is International Human Rights Day, the morning after the South African onslaught on Maseru. The silent vigil by the Black Sash, South Africa's enduring civil rights movement, is a haunting reminder of the diminishing human rights of 75% of South Africa's population. The central tenet of the International Human Rights Declaration provides that no one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality. This declaration was prompted by concern over the withdrawal of Russian nationality from some 2 million political dissidents by the Stalin regime in the 1920s, and by the termination of the German nationality of all German Jews by Nazi decree in 1941. In pursuit of the logical conclusion to the grand apartheid design, that ultimately there will not be one black person with South African citizenship, 8 million black South Africans have thus far been denationalized. This is the central issue in the black man's struggle for survival in the land of his birth. Dr. Ntato Motlana, chairman of the Soweto Committee of 10, founded in 1977 to oppose the puppet Urban Bantu Council and to set up representative civic associations in the black townships.
I want to add a different dimension to the proceedings of this morning. I haven't come here to pray. Those who brought us the Christian religion, those who have made us pray for 300 years, have now jettisoned that religion. They now worship ethnicity. They go to the churches every Sunday to pray to the God of racism, to the God of ethnicity. We're sick and tired of praying to that God. I'm not saying you shouldn't pray. We blacks are a very religious people. I'm just saying that isn't there another message to the story of Maputo, to the story of Maseru, another message. Here we are faced by a so-called Christian people who shot men and women and children in their beds. In their beds, brothers and sisters. There was no fight about it. There was no hot pursuit about it. I am saying the dimension I want to add to this morning's proceedings is whether in fact the South African Army, are they saying finally to our young men and women that stop wasting your time going to these monuments to Jesus Christ? That's the religion or non-religion of the East. That Marxism in fact teaches you and offers you something better. Let's think about it. Amanda! Amanda!